I was cranking my shit real quick. Cranking my fucking hog.
In the year of our Lord, 1475.
1470. Hello.
The Empire limps along.
I just found out how much my tax return is gonna be.
Taxes, in the hope that no one important starts drinking before noon.
Hello?
Frankenberg sits proud on its hill. Mostly because no one has bothered to knock it down. Yet.
Oh, I can hear them forcing the accent.
Some flee debts, some flee enemies, and some flee their wives.
Yep.
This
Just came out today.
Probably
On early.
from all three. But that's Frankenberg for you. The gate's always open.
I'm the number one.
So wide that
I'm the number one half sword player on earth.
Inside is noble all. Disputes are settled with grace, dignity, and whatever blade, mace, or stool is nearest to hand. The Baron calls it maintaining order. I call it Tuesday. Amid the streets, rumors multiply like rats. War here, heretics there, attacks 2 pfennigs harder than yesterday, and somehow everyone acts surprised every time.
I was asked to at the demo.
They gossip, they drink.
They added lore to a game about fighting people?
Honest work is what they seek. I admire their optimism. The jester lies. The merchant cheats at everything.
Real.
The armorer swears those dents in the salad were decorative. But if you have a sharp blade and a thicker skull, you might just survive long enough to get paid. Or dance the dance of death.
What the fuck? I didn't think I was gonna encounter fucking lore. Okay. Okay. There you go. We're changing it to burns hard. Move around, move around, move around, move around. Hell yeah, dude. Okay, I'm not a sickle. I hate sickles. I'm more of an axe kind of guy. Change the bin hard. Come on. Bean hard. There you go. Accept character. Oh my traveler, speak of the merchant trade any trade thy gear, thy belongings lie safe within the chest. For coin and glory in battle, seek the jester. And should you need anything else, come to me. Where are you? Your rest. Do I go fight now or do I hold off? I kind of fuck with this this a little bit. This is quite a bit of improvement. I'm not gonna lie. The game is very nice. You know what? I'm gonna take my chance. I want to take one battle right now. Keep your feet on the ground. No shit. Actually, give me one. Change the volume. Audio. It's $29.09 after tax. Just so you know. Like that. Yeah, it was 2906. I'm clean with it. Second with it, we are proud. Use the sickle word as one in for the motherland. Come here, son. I'm doing this for Canada. I love my country. I love my country. I do this for King Charles III. Okay, so it looks like my old strat of just like keep fucking spamming until I win still works. We're going back in. Go right back in. Yep. Keep your feet on the ground. We're going right back in. Hello, sir. It's the work. It's the work. The fuck? He is fucking creepy. But it's funny because historically, it's kind of how they would have probably looked. Like, really creepy. Especially court jesters. How am I so good? Hold up. Okay. Oh, hey. Oh. Take weapon. I'm gonna sell it. And I'm gonna take your weapon and I'm gonna sell it. What do you have? A knife? Claim $15. I'm gonna sell all their stuff except like my weapon. I'm carrying a penis around. My name is now Sebastian? Being hard. Make me the most handsome individual in all the land. We're back to being hard. I don't know. No, we're gonna do a flail. Trade. Craft a weapon. Forge weapon? Oh my god, I can create weapons. Weapon type. So I can only make a lace. A mace so far. It's on my trousers. You're so fucking right. Trade. Take my pants, good sir. Take my pantaloons. Alright, we're going back in. We're going to the slums brawl now. Being hard is gonna win. Being hard is just like me. Hard. What is up with this weird fucking frame lag? Why is it lagging? Sir, please. Say deceased. My bitrate's fine. The game. It's like it's the map itself. Don't worry as to why being hard is kind of hot. Alright, it's improving now.
What gain is there in blood spilt? reason, rule, and wear
Damn fucking straight. Yeah, we just won $10. We're winning. Oh. Get flailed, bitch.
lost, while loss and more.
Seller championship. What? Oh. Oh. What is this? Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I can use everything as a weapon in this map. Oh, we just won $21. A slums duel in 6 rounds? Oh. This is this. Oh my god. Maybe this map was a bad idea actually. I'm gonna try something. Like this. Yeah, it is. Bring it down one, but I'm bringing up textures. No. Turns out the flail is the weapon of choice. I just broke that fucking guy's neck. Jeez. A little bit. Okay, now, oh yeah, now it's much better. It's when I look out, but when I look away, it's better. Yeah, when I look, yeah, okay. It's the scenery. See? Laggy? Not laggy. Laggy? Not laggy. It's the fucking scenery. Sucks. A little bit. Yeah, we'll do this one. Oh. It's like a war. Yeah, oh my god, yep. There you go. That's this fucking siege camp over there. Someone's going for a fucking siege, or we're being sieged, because that's a siege camp. Okay, gentlemen, we're gonna face this way for this duel, okay? Thank you. Thank you for facing in the direction that I need you to face in. Okay, a slums championship, okay. You're supposed to be like a hard guy to fight. But you were defeated by a dildo. Beggars tournament. I'll screen share that later for you. It's easier to screen share than try to explain. Let's just say you'll hate yourself, and you're not going to be the one playing. Exactly. What he said. It's AIDS. I'll screen share it for you. I'm down. We can do it after stream if you're on. Gentlemen, please. Shall we discuss? Shall we discuss the socioeconomic, the geopolitical and socioeconomic stability of the world? Gentlemen, please. One at a time. One at a time. I do not have social battery for all three of you. Thank you. Sounds good. Better be up. Gentlemen, please. Whoa. Sir. Quick step back. Quick step back. Thank you. These battles are getting very tough. I fear I may lose. Whoa. Front back. Boom. Right in the dick. There you go. Take my flappy wiener. $70. We're now a peasant. Proud to announce I've been promoted to the peasantry. Okay, so my mistake is leaving, apparently? Good morning, Mr. Weapon Forger. Give me a messer. Small way. Yeah. A long head. Okay. We're not there yet. Horse duel. Start with that. It is definitely about the size in this situation. In this case, we want a long sword. Good afternoon, good sir. Your horse is dead, by the way. I want to alarm you. Ah. Oh my god. He just fucking cut my head off. I'm keeping Sigismund. I'm keeping Sigismund. Dude, he just chopped my fucking head off. No mercy. Cut my fucking dome right off. Does it? You have to. Mandatory. I am what King Sigismund thought he was. King Sigismund would have not been able to hold his own in a fucking fight, by the way. Sir, please. We both the same weapon. We both possess the same idea. No, sir. There's no need for us to resort to violence there, pal.
Might we not finden a path of peace?
What he said. Gentlemen. Oh.
Thy braver is proved. No need for
I'm just him. 5 rounds in forest duels. What is sickle? Oh! I'm in the box. Most important question is, why the fuck do I have clothes on? We're back in heaven. Okay. Craft the weapon with $264. Give me something good. Give me something good. Mace? No, we want a sword. What a messer. A long head. Let's make this my primary weapon. Yep. I was one of them. I was hard back then. I remember. It was 1401. I was getting bitches. I believe that. I need to make a better sword. I can't grip it with 2 hands. Excuse me, sir, can you please die a little bit more fucking quietly? God damn. Are you really? Are you serious? No. Good boy.
let us parley then rather than partisan.
That was Patterson. Okay, so every time I leave, the game thinks that I'm leaving the game. So that's why I keep getting sent back to this. Because the game is marking it as I'm leaving the game itself. But what we're going to do... Yeah, see, I just lost my sword. This is very bad. I can't even fucking leave without having my entire progress reset. Oh, do I need to fight until like the... Can you please let go of your sword? Please. No. No. Very skinny sword, but we'll take it. Whoa! Ouch. Good morning. Alright, where's the dead guy that wants to kill me? There. Whoa, hey. Don't you dare fucking bite me, you dick. Um. Okay, so he's got all the weapons that I'd want. Fellow champion. Okay, we need to progress. Hello. Go on.
Too much has been lost, while loss and more.
Much has been lost. Killer brawl? Sure. Get your shit ran through, good sir.
Rage might reign.
Come here. Whoa. Whoa. Hold up. Is it Tommy Tough Knuckles? There. Is there anything around here I can use against you? Huh. This table. You're lucky it's too heavy. This candlestick.
What gain is there in bloodshed?
Oh. It is, yes. It is. I don't remember. I think it was like season
Violence are red, but wow.
12. But yes, it is.
Mercy, good sire.
Here. Huh, huh, cool. The scene is literally called Zach. But yeah. No. We are, yes. But yeah, see? That's what- It gets worse. Have you ever noticed what my offline image is? I suspected. I suspected that Nick would have had that. Let me show you. Uh, I'll just show you guys the offline screen. Just need. Give it a second. Loading. Oh, yeah. Here is. Oh, Not showing my the image. Okay. That's a little fucking. There you go. Okay. You look at my background image. Tell me if you see anyone important here. You know, any very significant historical figures. Here, I'll zoom in on a historical figure real quick. You guys don't know who that is? Meat, do you know who that is? This guy. Vladimir Lenin. He's one of the fathers of the Russian Revolution. He's the one that essentially established the Soviet Union. Okay. Vladimir Lenin. With his book, What Is to Be Done? Yeah. It's who is that Vladimir Lenin? I thought it would have been very funny to have Vladimir Lenin as one of my background, as an image. Because the irony is, like, I'm gonna be making money off of content creation, and I'm gonna share it with a communist. So might as well have a communist. You only care about Boris Yeltsin? Fair enough. Boris is an okay guy. The court jester's so creepy. So, am I just constantly having my character be reset or something? Yeah, I'm constantly having my character fucking reset. And then my progress being reset. Okay. We're gonna lock in real quick so we can progress forward to the next fucking level, apparently. Because I can't even go make armor. Oh. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Oh. See, there's more of you. You have something more important than watching me stream or something? Man. Fair enough. Well, hopefully you at least enjoy the stream until you decide to get off. I'm probably going to play this a little bit longer than switch to a different game. You. Thank you. Come on. That works for me. Yeah, we'll do tomorrow. But we are nearing the 24-hour stream, so there's a chance I'll do it this weekend. I haven't decided yet. know what? Let's base say you don't have a life. You did? Fuck. I'm just beating up this peasant.
Consider, ere the battalion joineth the crosses of both.
You have a lineup should play for hours. I have some stuff lined up, but when I'm going to be playing it's pretty much winging it. I would like though, because I plan on taking some vacation. I plan on taking about a week of vacation. Not in February, but like in March. I take a week of vacation. That's like straight, you know, like already doing it every day, but for like consistent, really large amounts of hours. Maybe even do some kind of like challenge. I don't know yet. Everyone has been slimed out. I'm at 100%. Are you fucking serious right now? You dead ass? Don't lie to me. Time to switch. Yakovich. Good job. Freeze up. Yeah, mine shows 99. Mine shows 99,652 was raised. Yeah. Yeah, she does apparently. Hmm. 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 Come back. Please spin back. Hmm. Hmm. Let me refresh real quick and nope, still missing. Still missing a bit of points. I'll check back though. Oh, oh. I fucking won despite losing my leg. I won despite losing my leg. That's good. Woo! Woo! It is, yes. If I am the last man standing, I get my own fief castle. I become a feudal lord. I become a feudal lord. I've always wanted my own fiefdom. Lord Beanhard. Lord Beanhard, the Duke of Slums. I am the Duke. I'm duking it out. Hello. Whoa. Damn, I just realized I cut him in half. Oh my god. We're gonna keep doing sellers. Duking they shit right now. Damn fucking strike. Back to the sellers. We stay where we come from. Hello. Gonna borrow this chain real quick. Gonna borrow this chain real quick. I'm Tommy Tough Knuckles, bro. I punch walls for fun. I'm Tommy Tough Knuckles. Hey, friend. Let me show you who I am. I'm Kyle. I'm Tommy Tough Knuckles. This is what happens when I don't get my white monster right now. Tommy Tough Knuckles. God, it is like bruising. Am I saying something? I'm not. I'm not. Drywall doesn't stand a chance. Drywall and my wife. That was bad joke. I take it back, my bad.
I punch people for fun. I'm...
Oh, what the fuck is it?
I'm the quiet kid.
Jesus, dude. That guy. One quick slap to the fucking face. Hello. Right into the fucking Cocker Spaniel. What gain is there in bloodshed? Another brawl in the cellars. Hello. I'm Tommy Knuckles Tough. What's your name? Please spin back. Oh. No. Yes. Ah. I'm showing him some mercy by using the chair on his face. Scarf, we on unit. Hey, we the unit. Fucking hootie. Sorry, to me. Sorry, to me. I'm gonna... Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Too much hath been lost, while loss and more.
I-U-R-C-I-D-E. want to see. Also low. Everybody, let me see.
Consider ere the battalion joineth the
Fuck the 11. But hell, cock, bone, mother, wrist, watch, bone, the one of my charge. And I think you are at the Fort Wayne. Oh! I won and I lost my leg. Fourth champion. And thanks for the weapon. Okay. Oh! Save my soul. 6 souls? Good morning. For the 6 souls. I'm humping the air right now because they're not here. Okay, we're gonna walk forward a little bit. What's up, buddy? Alright, that's 1. Whoa. Okay, that's 1. 5 more to go. I hear him. Whoa! Ouch. Bang him. Okay. And here. Urgh. Whoa. It's like they focus on that, you know? I can headbang. Pretty shittily headbang, but I can headbang. Oh. Wait, hey, hey. Stop trying to bite me. Rude ass. Oh, yeah. Hello. Whoa. Nice try. Oh, hey. Ow. Sir, you're already dead, please. I highly recommend remaining. Thank you. Have I still not been granted to heaven? Ah. Alright. Did you see that? He tried to bite my dick. Please tell me I've been granted heaven. Yes! Alright, we're gonna sleep real quick. You're gonna cost me 2 penis. Just armor. Alright, I'm naked, so we got armor. Yeah, we're gonna take this one actually. Hello, my name's Michael.
Time to go defeat.
Hello. Your name? My name's Michael.
I'm the Michael of the friend group. I'm Michael.
I'm taking my $23. In addition to that. Okay, we're gonna be Paul now. Michael has decided to retire. Craft a weapon. Forge a weapon. Yep. We want a big sword. A very heavy sword. And we want it to be walnut. And we want it to be... beautiful. Okay, forest champion. You're gonna have to remind me as well. Probably like years ago. Like 600 billion of them. Oh my god, yes. Holy shit. Oh my god, yeah, I remember that. I think that was my first time ever hearing like anything like that too. How old were we? For like what? 6th grade? Yeah, 6th grade? 6th grade? Something like that? We're young. I think Shangri-La had just came out when that happened. Or fucking yeah. I think Shangri-La had just came out. I think you had Shangri-La because my mom refused to like buy me DLCs for COD and shit. Ah man, we weren't snitches. We weren't snitches. I just remember the first time that I ever heard your brother like practice. There's music there. I remember that. I think yeah, it was BO1. We were going ham on BO1. I was actually thinking on this one, Nick, and you let me know what you think. I want to play Black Ops 1 Zombies during the 24-hour stream. PC BO1. Would you be down to do some BO1 if you have it on PC? Like the good old days. Back when I had to lie to my mom about drinking Monster. And Red Rain and shit like. Not if you play together. So, that's if you play on the multiplayer servers. But if you play on like private match multiplayer servers, you're fine. So it has to be on the public servers for that to happen. That or we can play Plutonium. I believe BO1 has Plutonium. It should be, yeah, in theory. Let me take a look at something. Take a look. Take a look at this. This is like the alternative. You need, obviously, the game itself, right? You need a copy of it on Steam at the minimum. But it's very useful. You can also do unlock alls. Pretty cool. So I've been playing Modern Warfare 2, like OG Modern Warfare 2. It works. Oh, whoa. No. Don't ever blame my good friend Bezos. Fuck, I missed. Shit, I missed. What up? Sir, please. Sir, please. Sir. Oh my god. Okay. I think after this, we're gonna switch games. Oh yeah, dude, resellers go ham on pricing because they know people will like want to buy it, right? So she mounts my blade until I ban her. Fine, fault. Huh? Bitch, Rolls Royce in my Mercedes. Bitch, you say Mercedes. Like, go down, rise, one of them ladies. Fuck you, pain. Over. That. Like I ain't 5'9". My time, take my time. Time. Suicide. What that? Sounds about right. Dude. What the fuck is Suicide Boys doing at my house? Don't you fucking worry about what they're doing here. No. They're here. They're in my house. You know what? We get so demonetized for this. I don't care. I'll play Suicide Boys. We're gonna play the boys. We're gonna play the most goated song that they have from they live in my walls. Oh. Oh.
I don't give a fuck. See your face, so I meditate. Wonder who you forget, if I was gone. Show me a strip, baby, fucking through the phone. Stacking this calls in different time zones. Sold out shows, baby, and I cry alone. You're never there. It's only breaking me down, like I don't care. I'm only up to climb the stairs. Stretched in, feel the wheels and some friends.
This is from the first record from 2025. So this is from Thy Kingdom Come. I'll play one from the Thy Will Be Done. They are. Hello. Fucking dope. Stay. I'm out of low. Just another Audi trope. Untie the rope as I start with on the road. I left you there just in case you need a backup. Long-term suffering is good. I know how it goes. I didn't mean to flow. Happen also slow. I'm struggle till I soar. But sweat keeps overflow. Trusted hope can be clear and fade into I'm gonna show you what I got. So when Thy Will Be Done came out, I immediately went here and I bought this one, and then they I got the Communist, so I got Curtis to buy it for me. I got this one. Thy Kingdom Come, this one, and I got Sing Me a Lullaby by Sweet Temptation, the vinyl, New World Depression, Long Term Effects Suffering. The only one that did not put back out was I Want to Die in New Orleans. I remember I was at Buckyada when that one came out. I was at Buckyada when that album came out. So I was in college. Yeah, I'm gonna play a song from the new album. There's one specific I can't play. Oh, dude, I bought like $500 worth of merch from Thy Will Be Done. So like the one that just came out, I bought like $300 worth of fucking merch. I'll play like hard on my favorite song from the new album. It's Fuck Ups. Oh, G59 merch? Dude, they haven't done G59 merch in a long time. Like actual grade A G59 merch in a while. Gonna be this. Okay, I'm waiting for the other game to load up, and then I'm gonna switch. You did good. Time for you to catch up, man. Time for you to catch up, bro. This is the new stuff. This is the one that came out on Christmas. It was. No. I'm not. It's very clearly fair use. I mean, there's commentary in the background. You know, very good album. You know, we're listening to it, rating it. That's an Apache. Yeah, that's an Apache. That's a Hellfire. That's one of the original Hellfires. You know? So that's flipped around. That's impossible. Apaches can't do that. Let's see. You see that right there? That's an MQ9. Actually, that's a 1. That right there, that would be a live fire test. Probably from like a naval invasion practice from the US Marines. Likely. That's a Chinook. Actually, Gulf War. F-14s. Those are Marines. Tomcats. Let me show you. Let me show you the F-14 Tomcat there. Look at this bad boy right here. Oh, ain't she beautiful? Greatest plane. Goated plane. Really? I agree. They should. Take the time, 3590 up to rush. On the raw dog, on the right shit. On my bit, on roads 96, yo type shit. October, the crisis. Long dream. I cannot rap. No, Nick, I cannot. Breaking up the sky. Peace and quiet. Mumble rapper. Yep. SoundCloud days. You want to make white boy mad? There's only one kind of white boy rap I'll ever listen to, and that's the original songs that Scrim dropped. The old Suicide Boys stuff. That right there is the stuff. There's an estimate of 0 uploads per week. Hold up, let's go down the archives real quick. Let's go down the archives. A Lil Peep is a good white boy. Ah, yes. Here she is. You know, one of these bangers right here. Anything from 2015, 2018. Yep. Exodus is peak. Future Pride is also. I don't remember what year Future Pride was. 5 years ago. So 2020. Future Pride's really good. I remember. Oh, 1,000 Blunts is really good. I didn't realize how old the 100 Blunts. Ah, there you go. I Enough the Snow Leopard, Shark Attack. I Enough the Snow Leopard, Storage feats Scrim. You can see when they switched out the Suicide Boys. God. Alright, we'll listen to Exodus and we'll go to the game. Oh. They did not like that. What is going on tonight? Holy shit. I think they still use some of these filters at Grey Day.
Bitch, I'm standing right beside attires made up of nothing but wired acquired. Singing my praises with phrases that let you all know I'm the best of the say. Black in my eyes, on my side, on my mind, with the blood on my face, and I turn it to wine. Your grace is the bomb, make them fall in the line. Let the planets align as they build me a shrine.
Okay, we'll cut Exodus short. We're gonna switch to the game now. But that was like the peak. And again, they still use these filters at grade A. Because Scrim's verse was peak. Okay, so the game will reset itself to resolution apparently on its own. Okay. Where were we last time we played? We were doing something. Oh yeah, we were in the middle of a war. We're in the middle of a war. War never changes. War. War never goons. We're gonna go. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're gonna travel down to that. Whoa. Children, please. Leave some space between the Lord for the both of you. And in Jesus' name we pray. I think she wants it a nut. Nut in a butt, twin. Nut in a butt, twin. Nut in a butt, twin. Okay. Oh my god. What is up with me in games tonight? What the fuck is going on? Okay, I guess me and games just don't want to fucking get along tonight. Okay. Okay.
Die! I'll tear your limbs!
Oh. I'm hoping this fucking lag improves eventually. Oh. Oh. He has an Amazon deal. Like one of the biggest Amazon deals. Plus, he's one of the biggest names in YouTube right now, so Amazon sees the investment value in Mr. Beast. God damn it! Okay. I'm gonna stick around this spot. I'm gonna go to this hideout. Let's hope that my kingdom I'm part of doesn't go to fucking war. God damn it! spoke too fucking soon, apparently. Let's say it real quick.
It's been a while.
Has been. God damn it, game. Okay. I'm gonna start making my way to them. Oh, you go fight. Okay, we'll join the main army.
Who are you? And She bound my blade till I made two. So fucking real. Mm-mm-mm.
Oh, we wait. Um, my men are charging. No one has. Gonna be one of the first motherfuckers up in that wall. I need you to go fight the main with the main group. I'm gonna take this from you. Okay. Oh, my men are dying. Oh. Ah. Oh God. Last one got my party so far. Key bindings. Map movement. Really kick and bash. Really. God damn it. Oh, and I died. Oh, come on. Ooh. Oh. Let's go. This is a beautiful sight. This is a beautiful sight. We're gonna let this battle play out. It's gonna be easier than me trying to catch up. Oh shit. What the fuck? What the fuck? What is going on? Your soldiers. Great. Okay. Go buy some more troops.
Hold there. So tell me, who I fight?
Oh, fuck it. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose. But it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be a funny loss. We're gonna do this, depending if it's a win or a lose. If it's a lose, it's okay. Go back, but we're gonna end it for the night. Oh, fuck.
Wheel to enemy! Charge!
We're gonna lose. We're gonna fucking lose so hard. There's like realistically no winning this fight. Maybe if I like reduce down how many archers they have, maybe I have a chance. Otherwise, yeah. Yeah. There's no winning this. I had my suspicions. I had my suspicions I wouldn't win. Okay, we're gonna load the save. Recruit troops. Oh. Trade. Fill the Iron Banner. Keep the Iron Banner. I'm gonna swap out my standard. Put these things here. Sell all of this. There. I guess it's a bit of cash. We should kind of hang out with his army until they leave. I think we're gonna stick with his army during this. Use it to build up my reputation with him. You know, maybe he'll grant me my own castle.
It's been a while.
Okay. Mm-mm-mm. Mm.
Forward! Charge!
Okay, we don't have any siege artillery. No, we do actually. We have one siege weapon. Shame. Oh. No, fuck. Fuck. Oh. Oh. Come on. I'm hoping this castle gets given to me. Yeah, that'd be very cool. I'm gonna have this castle. Alright. Fuck. Come on, guy, give me one castle. Oops. Okay, we're going in. Mm-mm-mm.
Line formation! Give them hell!
There we go. Now we sit here and wait. Okay. Oh. Hell yeah. Oh. Good shit.
Attack!
There you go. Okay. We're chasing a ghost. Oh, hello, Emperor. Does that mean I'm getting the castle? First spoke to me. Great. Oh. I'm gonna go sell the rest of it. Trade. It's over here. Oh. Come on, get into the castle. Come on, get into the castle. Yes, we got into the fucking castle. Okay. Dream day. Okay, guys. I'm gonna call it. I'm starting to get a little tired. Thank you for watching. Good.